Welcome to the Purpose Chasers podcast, where adversity meets ambition and setbacks become setups for something greater. I'm your host, Mark Crandall. After walking away from a $5.1 million construction sale, enduring loss, betrayal, a season of darkness, and a pile of financial devastation, I came back to the one thing I can't shake, helping people live on purpose. This podcast isn't about chasing dollars, it's about chasing calling. Every week, we shine light on creators, entrepreneurs, and artists who refuse to quit. People who kept moving forward when life told them to sit down. If you've ever been knocked down, counted out, or told no, you're in the right place. Because here, we turn pain into power and purpose into impact. Let's dive into this week's episode.
So this man was introduced to me by an epic human being. And when I read his story, I reached back out to the individual that introduced us. And I said, will you follow up with this man and ask him if he's open to talking about X, which we're going to get into. So there's the open loop for you listening. And within, I would say maybe 5 or 10 minutes, she followed back with me and said, absolutely. I have Judd Armstrong on with me today, and I'm super excited to get into this conversation, as it's something that I have been really trying to get my head around as I work on, setting up bigger and bigger consulting agreements, and I'm working with individuals on scaling businesses and becoming more heart-centered in their business, and really working with them on the value of the relationships and not the actual sale of the job. I read this man's story and I was like, man, what an epic journey. Judd, I'm very, very excited to have you on. And before we get into it, I have to say, I've seen the headphones that you sold before, and I believe that I actually saw an article or a video in which you stated that you were going to make a run at the headphone industry. And I know a lot of people talk smack, you've been in business longer than I have. A lot of people talk smack and they kind of make bold statements, but you have a practice in your daily life that I really look forward to getting into, that I have in my own life, which I attribute to a lot of my success. And that is visualization. So we're going to get into that as well. Judd, grateful to have you on, man. Where are you in the world?
Thanks, Mark. I'm excited to be here, man. We've got so much to talk about and to go through. But I'm in Utah. We normally live in Australia. Love it down there. Got beautiful beaches in Australia. It's kind of like Southern California, but with a lot less people, and really pristine. But we have family in Utah. That's actually where we set up Jaybird. That's where we ran Jaybird from. My wife, she's from here, so she has a bunch of family, and we're enjoying it. It's good.
I believe that Moab is the most spiritual place on the planet.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. I've been there 3 times. The next one's going to be my wife and little man going out there. But so when I know Utah is a big state, right? But when I think Utah, I think Moab for whatever reason.
Do you mountain bike or hike?
Both. Yeah. I really enjoy them both. The first time I went, we did a lot of mountain biking. And then this last time I went, we did quite a bit of hiking, and I did a lot of meditation and a lot of just, you get out into that landscape, man. And it's just kind of like, it's breathtaking. You're just looking, you're just out, you're just lost. Right.
Oh man, it's good. Have you tried one of those e-bikes?
No.
They're amazing. A friend of mine, he's a big time mountain biker, and he got me onto an e-bike. And you got to work just as hard, but man, you go a long, long way. So if you're going to go to Moab, boy, you can cover a lot of ground. It's pretty cool.
What is it? It's like electronic bike?
Yeah, well, it's battery powered. So the more you push, the more it helps you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so you can get moving then.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, his eyes got big. So Judd, before we get into the meat and potatoes of Jaybird, because I know, and we were talking about this pre-gaming a little bit before we hit record, how did you find out you were an entrepreneur or business was something that you wanted to tackle?
I'm like you know, I hadn't even heard the word entrepreneur really. And I hadn't really even realized that that's what I was going to do. My dad was an entrepreneur growing up. And so I got to watch him be a businessman. I guess he had a company and he had these cool ideas and he was working super hard at it. And I watched him provide for our family and be the man. And it never occurred to me for some crazy reason that that's what I would end up doing. I was always thinking, well, you know, I love to be outside. I think I'll be a landscaper. And then my dad said, well, you know, landscaping's good, man. And you'll get outside in the sun. That's great and everything. But you're probably, you know, you're not going to really be able to get ahead financially being a landscaper, which is understandable. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'll be a graphic designer. So, because I'm kind of a creative, enjoy art, love getting on Illustrator and Photoshop nowadays. And yeah, so I'll do that. And then he said, yeah, you know, that's good. But still, if you really want to be financially secure and set, you're got to kind of look for something else. So then I was studying Indonesian in high school because Indonesia is the closest country to Australia. So that was, Australia had its eyes set on Indonesia in those days. And so I said, oh, I'll be an Indonesian translator. So I think he gave up at that point. He could have just told me that I could get into business. So I went to university to be an Indonesian translator. And the only university in Australia at the time that was teaching Indonesian was Griffith University with an international business degree. So I get there, I'm doing finance and I suck. Oh man, I suck at finance. I think I failed that one. And what I did find that I had a love for was marketing. And any entrepreneur loves the concept of solving problems for people, right? And lighting up people's lives with some kind of solution that they can offer. And that's one of the things that we geek out about as entrepreneurs is creating value in the world. You know, some people chase success just for the sake of success. But when you do that, you're kind of shallow, you're kind of hollow, you don't have longevity, you don't have competitive advantage, you're not really getting into the hearts of people. But when you really want to add value to someone, you really want to connect with them and communicate why they need this in their life, and you're excited about lighting up their life with whatever you have and truly being the best and being the pedestal product, that's when things really light up for you. That's when things really light up for them. And that's an entrepreneur. That's what it's at.
What a great lead in, because everything you just shared was focused on relationships. It was focused on individuals. And I believe there are entrepreneurs, and then I believe there are business folk, right? So it's like we were talking about before this convo. You know, entrepreneurs are focused on the journey of building relationships, and they know that the more that they pour into those relationships, the more those relationships are going to pour out, right? And
yeah,
my experience early on, not knowing much, was I attributed to success as what I had in my business account. And I was working harder and harder and harder. And I remember my first financial goal was when I have 25,000 in my business account, which is of course separate from my wife and I's account, that will be it. Right. And as soon as I hit 25, then it was 50. And as soon as I hit 50, then it was 100. And as soon as I hit 100, and it was like, you know, it was like I had some moment right before my son was born where I was like, wait, this isn't it. Because clearly I'm never going to get to, and then I started to get deeper into my spiritual practices, and I'm like, well, what is this? What am I doing this for? Like, what's the bigger picture? So there you were at the university, sucking at finance. How did you go from the university not really enjoying finance, studying to be an Indonesian, what was it, a translator?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's probably, like, I've heard a lot of things, but like, I can imagine like you with your eyes closed throwing at a dartboard that has career choices on it. Indonesian translator. What's that?
Hey, Mark, how much time have we got for this podcast again?
I got an hour.
Okay,
what do you got?
All right, just trying to see how much detail we should go into. Okay. All right, so yeah, I'm at university, and my first job was a washing machine salesman. I graduated thinking that I would be like the marketing teams and behind, like the power that would move Pepsi Cola or some kind of big consumer brand, right? Getting out from international business. And no, I'm going into sales because in Australia, the market's not big. It's a pretty small market. You got maybe 25 million people there, which is less than the population of California. And so I'm selling washing machines, and these are expensive washing machines in retail stores and imported from America, like 2 or 3 times the price of everything else. And people, I would walk out to go greet them as they came in the retail shop, and they'd be grabbing their child by the forearm, leaving the showroom because they were so expensive. And I would get there and they'd already cleared out. So eventually I learned that as they got out of their car, I would start walking to the front door so I could, kind of walk past, say hi, fix something up and come back and say hi to them. And of course, they're just shocked by the sticker. But these were like the Rolls Royce of washers, man. Like they were like stainless steel. For Australia, it was a big deal. Everything was plastic and lasted just a few years. Whereas these imported ones from America lasted like 20, stainless steel bowl. Like we had like a 20-year warranty on the gearbox. It was beautiful work of art on the inside. I'd take the front off and show them. And I just walked them through how much this washing machine would cost them per year compared to our local stuff. And it was actually half the price on a per year basis because they would last so long and they were just built so well. And I would write it out on a big piece of paper, give them my card and say, okay, you go back to the other store, go have a look at that Fisher and Paykel or whatever brand they were looking at. And when you're ready, come back and we'll get you the washing machine that you really need and the one that you really know that you need. And it took a few weeks for that to kind of start to build momentum. And the store manager is just like looking at me every time I come back without a sale. He's just looking at me going, Judd, what? You're not selling anything. You're not selling anyone. And so I'm like, boss, don't worry about it. They're coming back. So then I go back to the break room. I'll be pacing back and forth. Are they going to come back? I don't know if they're going to come back. I've never done this before. And eventually they would start coming back. And it was really, really cool to start to connect with people and to let them know what they really need in their life, because a lot of people, they don't know what they need, that they're not an expert in this stuff. And they need someone to really take them by the hand and give them the best thing on the planet. And that's what we had. So that was my first experience in sales. That was really fun. I had an old restored 1971 Holden Monaro. It was like the Chevy SS here in America. Beautiful car, blue, houndstooth cloth seats. And I sold that because I chased my wife Miriam to America. So I sold that car to get a wedding ring. So I came to America with seriously 2 bags of clothes and a wedding ring. And she took my heart and we got married here. And that's when I started to get into like ideas about what I could do over here. Look, this is the land of the free, land of the brave. A lot of people come here and do very, very well. And some of the best people who do well nowadays are immigrants, Asian immigrants into America. They crush it because they have their head right. They have their self-beliefs right. They understand that they can do things in life. And some of us, we tend to get pretty complacent and pretty cruisy in today's world. And we don't chase our dreams. We don't chase the purpose and the calling on our life. Why? Because we're afraid. We're so used to the comforts. The opposite of fear is curiosity. And when we're curious, that's when we really step into our true purpose and calling in life.
And we also, a lot of Americans are lazy. Let's just call it what it is. We're lazy, and we live inside of a society that is constantly feeding us with opportunities to take the focus off what we really want to do. So there's so many distraction opportunities. I think about it, and I'm going to say this for the sake of saying it. I've never watched Game of Thrones. People are like, you've never watched Game of Thrones? I was like, no, I was in grad school when it came out, and, I wasn't doing television at the time. And, I was really focused on my education, and I was working 2 jobs. And then, once I got out and I started working, there was already like 4 seasons. And I was like, I'm not going to watch, I don't have time to watch 4 seasons of hour episodes. It's like 12 hours times 4, you know what I mean? Like, but most people are just constantly looking for distractions instead of going within and doing what you stated, like diving into that curiosity and starting to explore what's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's spot on, man. Yeah. Viktor Frankl said that when people don't find deep purpose and meaning to their life, they distract themselves with pleasure. That's so true. You see so many of your friends and those who are around you just living really, hey, they'll work. And then they're like, okay, what can I do just to be fun? What kind of fun can I have? Whereas, like anyone listening to this podcast right now, I mean, you're chasing some kind of purpose in your life. You know that there's something out there. There's probably something that's been sitting on the shelf collecting dust. There's some reason why you haven't gotten to it yet. Or if you're working at it now, you're looking for some way to elevate that and to take it to the next level. And that's commendable. Like that's where we need to be in life. And that, Mark, you talk about fulfillment. That's where it's at. Like if you want to be joyful, if you want to be fulfilled, there is a purpose to what we're doing here. And we all have gifts and you're going to find your purpose in those things that you geek out about that completely bore someone else. We all have those things that we just get psyched about. That passion is for you. And the purpose is the cause that you create. And that is for other people. And that's what Jay Shetty says. Your purpose is for you. Your passion is for you and the purpose is for everyone else.
Which is one of the main reasons why I was so quick to grab you up and have this conversation with you. And we were emailing back and forth last night and you're like, oh, this is a pre-interview, right? And I was like, no, dude, if you're cool, like we're just going to get into it. Like I have all the pregame that I need. And the main reason for me is I know that you're a heart-centered guy because you sold your headphone company for $95 million. And now we're doing a podcast interview to talk about purpose. So to me, I know a lot of people would be on a beach smoking Cubans right now, living the life, flexing, throwing money all over the place, maybe doing Instagrams of them in front of fancy cars. I'm looking at your backdrop that you have. If money isn't everything, go work at McDonald's, right? Like that to me summarizes the individual that I'm talking to, right? One of the things that I found very, very early on after banging my head off the wall several times chasing money was that entrepreneurship wasn't a destination. It wasn't an arrival somewhere. And then I really started to embrace the journey and all the ups and downs and wanting to snap my laptop and, the frustrations and wanting to fire clients and wishing I had negotiated more because now I'm resentful because they've made too much off what I've done, right? Like I just started to really, really embrace that and really enjoy it. And you touched on something that I don't want to pass over. And your psychology or philosophy of sales is just brilliant. It's just brilliant. And it's something that I subscribe to. So you weren't hard closing them, which I don't believe is effective anymore. I don't believe in it. You were providing them with an opportunity to purchase something that made sense for them and then challenging them to go back to explore their life to see if it truly made sense. Yeah. And the individuals that were coming back didn't need to be sold. They were provided the opportunity and the clarity, and they came back ready to buy. I just think that's brilliant. I don't want to pass over that because you're like, I came up with an idea and I was pacing and it worked. Yeah, it does. And you're less likely to get refunds because the people showing up made the decision to buy instead of being forced into the decision to buy.
Yeah. If you can give people true principles, if you can deliver those true principles to them, they will self-govern. They'll govern their own decision, and they'll own it. It'll be their decision, and that's where the power is. And you just want to empower people in their life with the right stuff. And when you talk about negotiating, I so agree with that. Where like with Jaybird, when we negotiated headphone deals, I just couldn't live with myself if I was really screwing down a supplier, like a factory, and they could make 1 penny while I made $10. I just wasn't going to do that. We got pressure from Best Buy, we got pressure from Apple, we got pressure from Amazon, we got pressure from everyone. But when you have a product that stands alone, that stands separate from everyone else, that is the pedestaled product that everyone wants to be like, that's the burden that's on every entrepreneur. Don't just go out there and be a merchant. Don't go and just put your logo on something that's pretty generic and sell it online. You're not creating value. Something that I learned from Best Buy when I went there was Mark Maziniak, who's become a really good friend of mine. And he was one of the guys there at Best Buy. And he says, early on with Jaybird, when we were still trying to figure out what we were doing, our best offering, things like that, he said, you've got to make sure, Judd, that you're creating value and that you have a reason for being on the shelf in our stores across the country. Like, you can't just be there because you're just another headphone. You got to give us, and you got to give our customers a reason, a credible reason. Why are you there? And can you say it in one sentence? So when you're online, you got to be able to justify yourself. Why are you causing people to come to your website? Why are you taking time out of people's day to come and buy your stuff? Is there value there? Are you actually making the world a better place with what you're doing? And in the process, on getting back to negotiation, we've got to make sure that we're making everyone succeed in the process. Because if you're screwing everyone down, when you're in a bind and you need a favor like what you're talking about, they're not going to be there for you. But if you've created a really good friendship, you can look back on your life legacy and have a bunch of friends, and you all did something really cool together, and everyone won. And that's what it's all about.
I love it. I love Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, I'm so grateful that my first mentor was like, you need to read this book. And I read the book and I went back to report to him. He's like, okay, now read it again. Right. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did. So let's bring it back a little bit. We'll Tarantino it and bring it back. So you're selling washers and dryers because you just went right into Jaybird, which I know because I've done a bunch of research before getting on this and having this chat with you. So Jaybird is a wireless headphone company that you created with the intention of essentially rattling the headphone industry and innovating the headphone industry. How do you go from selling Mercedes-Benz washers and dryers to starting a headphone company to coming up with the desire to really rattle an entire industry?
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned earlier that your goals evolve, right? My first goal, my only goal was, I realized that this was 2005 and I saw in Inc. magazine, there was this guy who had created a waterproof music player, essentially a waterproof iPod. And this is before iPhone, right? And it was silly because you had to clip it on your belt. It was for surfers. It was silly because you had to clip it on your belt. There was a cord that ran up, and then there were earbuds that would go to your ear, and there's nothing to hold it on your ear. So as a surfer myself, I knew, well, hang on, you get wiped out, you duck dive through waves. There's no way those headphones are going to stay in your ear. Plus it's corded, plus it's got to go on your belt. That's silly. Yet somehow he had some kind of success. So that got me thinking. And also, as I'm running down the road one day, I've got this iPod cable just flopping back and forward, left and right as I'm running, and thought, this is really silly. And then you get back to your desk and you got this wireless keyboard and wireless mouse from Logitech, ironically, who I sold Jaybird to eventually. And I thought, this has got to change. And I want some headphones that, could be sweat proof, maybe even waterproof. I want them to be wireless. I want them to be dope. I want them to be like really secure. I want them to be cool. And so I figured that I could probably sell a few online and just make back my cost. And then I would have my own headphones. That was the extent of my goal at the time. I was not at that point thinking that I could dominate the world, but that was all I was going to geek out about. It was just a side project, a little fun thing that I could do out of passion. And that was kind of cool. So then, so I'd actually had a company before that I'd started called, it was a medical record retrieval company, man. It was completely different. It was just dealing with hospitals and medical facilities and working with attorneys and insurance companies to, deliver medical records. Essentially, we were a paralegal in a way. And so I had like 50 employees there, and we sold that company for about $1 million. And then I used some of that money, aside from living costs and taxes. After you live for a couple of years and you paid your taxes, that doesn't leave you a lot to start a business. And so I'd actually gone broke in the process of starting Jaybird. So then I'd sold my furniture in my home. We'd sold our car to, keep things going and launch our first headphone. And the first headphone flopped. Oh my goodness. Like we thought that we could do it without controls on the headphones, because I want it to be super minimal, super easy, super clean. You can control it on your iPod at the time. And that wasn't what people wanted. They wanted to be able to click controls on their ear, which makes sense. So we had to really pivot and retool the headphone and come out again a few months later. And then we got into Target, and Target liked it. It was good. And then Amazon liked it. We got to be #1 on Google search for Bluetooth headphones. And all of a sudden we're starting to pay the bills. We're starting to keep the lights on, and it's steady sales too. Like we were selling about 30 headphones a day on our website, and that was a rush. And we just had a few of us. It was a real hustle. And, one thing leads to another over a few years. There's some real struggles that we had at times. Like our factory said that they won't even make any more for us because it was too difficult for them. It was really hard to find anyone to make headphones back in those days. So if anyone doesn't know, wireless headphones were not a thing back in 2005, 6, 7, 8. And we were among the first to innovate. And eventually we were the ones that led that whole shift from wired to wireless. And eventually we became the 3rd top premium headphone brand in the States alongside Beats and Bose. We were the first of the little guys, but yeah, that blew our mind that we had achieved that, because we had no marketing money. We didn't have a lot of engineering budget, but yet we were able to pull some pretty remarkable things off. But that's what happens when you get into those gifts in your life, that calling on your life. There's things that are in your life that you need to do, and it's reserved for no one but yourself. And when you get past your fear and you get into curiosity, and when you get unstuck, those things that are holding you back, then you really light up, and you just chase it in faith, and it just lights up.
A couple things came up for me. The first one is, just the acknowledgement of your wife. Like, what a saint. My wife is such a warrior. When you come up out of the office and you're like, honey, I got this idea. It's going to be great. It's going to be the thing. Right. And she's like, oh yeah. It's going to be awesome. Great. I'm not going to see you for a while because you're going to be working. Awesome. And then you come upstairs, and when you tell me your first headphone flopped, I just think about my wife, because, guys like us, we don't just like, it's not a flop. It's like, we're immediately into a solution and like, okay, revamp, retool. This is going to be it. And so we just failed essentially in society's eyes. And we come back upstairs and we're like, oh, we're going to retool the headphones. We're going to launch again. Let's sell the car. Let's sell the furniture. It's going to be great. Right. You just think about it. Oh, I just had to take a minute to acknowledge your wife, man. Thank you for her and for my wife, and, for all the wives and husbands that support entrepreneurs. Like, we're creatives, and that's just part of the journey for us. So, man, I just had to acknowledge that. My wife is a saint.
Yeah, they're amazing.
The ideas that I go upstairs with. So I can see why you came to the US with 2 bags of clothes and a wedding ring. You wanted to lock that in. So, Judd, can you think about like a turning point in Jaybird when you had a realization? You're like, okay, this isn't just me making headphones for myself. Like, this is a thing.
It was a slow realization, I would say, and it came in pieces. First of all, once we had gotten beyond, hey, I'm going to sell a few online to cover my cost, and I realized, hey, people actually want this. And even though our first headphones, you can look them up, Jaybird JB200. Oh, they look like Darth Vader's hearing aids. They were like behind the ear and black and shiny, and they were kind of cool for their time, but not really. I would put them on and go to the gym. I just feel a bit awkward. So, when your first efforts in some ways are going to suck. Like that's just a truth about being an entrepreneur. You will suck at first. There's no way around it, because you're not going to step into being a polished, amazing thing right up front. And you have to be comfortable with starting small. You have to be comfortable with sucking and just dealing with it and growing. That's the only way you do anything in life. You look at Martin Luther King. Do you think he was a great orator right from the start? Hell no, no way. Like, that guy had to work at it, and to speak in the imagery the way that he did, and to invoke the emotion that he did, he had to work at that. But also know that, like, entrepreneurship, it's in your blood. Like, many of your ancestors bought and sold at the market, right? They were farming, went down the road and bought and sold. And so there's these principles that you got to work by. Like, it's going to take twice as much time, twice as much money, twice as much character as you think. You know, it's going to take many years really to do what you envision. It just takes that long. Like 6 years is typically a good number to run on. But yeah, it took about that long for us to really start getting that wind beneath our wings. And once iPhone came out, and then once iPhone got Bluetooth stereo, which took a while to come in, actually, it took a while. And once those things started to hit, we started to realize that, yeah, this shift that I had envisioned, or we had envisioned, myself and my team, that one day, instead of it being like 2% or 5% wireless headphones on the shelf, it would be flipped. And we see that now. Like, that's what we had envisioned, that 95% of headphones in any store would be wireless. And that's where it is now. And we wanted to really drive that at that point, once we started to see that vision unfold. And I was imagining that Jaybird could be as big as Nike one day. And if I decided to stay, it would be much bigger than what it is now, because I had such an idea to expand it outside of headphones. Like, we were not a Bluetooth company. People were saying, "Oh, you're a Bluetooth company." No way. Okay, you're a headphone company then. No, we're not even a headphone company. We're here to change the experience. We're here to elevate your workout. That's a sacred place. Every day or every other day, most or a lot of people go somewhere to train, get their body going. Maybe it's, if you're not working out, you're doing something else. Maybe it's an outdoor adventure or a hike or a mountain bike session or something like that. But that's a sacred place for us, where we get away from all the stress of life. We declutter. We get the endorphins going. That's a very special place, and we could elevate that, make that wireless. So we were about creating amazing experiences that elevate the soul. That's what Jaybird was about. And so headphones were a tool. Bluetooth was just a tool to get there. So when you think about what kind of company you are, don't be thinking what the tangible product is. Think about, what are you creating for people? What experience are you creating for people? Like McDonald's, not a great, not necessarily a great example, but I remember the founder of McDonald's talking about that he's not a hamburger restaurant. They sell assurance. Like, they know, like, when you go to McDonald's, you know exactly what you're going to be buying. So when you can stand for something really strong, that's when you find your power, right?
Mic drop. I mean, we'll just drop the mic right there. So let me ask you this. Did you get offers for a buyout of the company before you accepted Logitech?
I had private equity firms calling me up, begging me to take money from them eventually, because they were saying, look, you've got a massive target on your back. What you've done is you're the third top headphone brand in the States for headphones sales in retail, over the $100 price tag. And you're just getting started, and everyone else is scrambling to try to catch up with you. And which was true, because we heard from different people in the industry that everyone just wants to try to do what Jaybird's doing. And see, that's the thing, is like, when you can find those things in your life that are driven by passion and driven by inspiration, you're connected into something that is much larger than yourself, and you get to be part of something that you wouldn't normally see yourself. And so I was saying no to these offers because I knew that we weren't quite there yet. If you're going to give away equity, or if you're going to sell, it needs to be the right situation. And the right situation is going to be super attractive, where everything is firing. You've got a massive, exciting, potential, future ahead of you. You've got a great roadmap of new products yet to come. So it's going to magnify what's going to happen next year and the year after that. That's when you sell, because it's very, very attractive to the buyers. Everyone was wondering, why are you selling right now? Because you got so much still that you're going to be doing. But it was big. We had 100 employees. I was the only one funding it, and running so much myself as well. It was just, it's been a decade now, and that's a long time, and that's a lot of family time to sacrifice as well. We have 4 kids at that time. They were very, very young, and I just wanted more family time, man.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I'm there, and I'm starting to create it as well. So you get approached by Logitech. How did that all go down?
Yeah. So if you're going to sell a business, definitely get an investment banker involved. They only charge a small percentage, just like a real estate agent, but boy, oh boy. I mean, it changes the game. They will help you put together an amazing deck. It was like 100 pages, structured, like essentially, the business plan or the proposal. They put it together, and they know exactly how to put it together to close deals. Secondly, they have an incredible network. So we put the deal together, sent it out to a mixture of strategic buyers. A strategic buyer is someone like Bose, someone like Skullcandy, someone like Beats or Apple, Samsung. We went to all those people. And then a private equity buyer is, just like, firms that are out there to buy a company, in a few years, turn around and sell it again for a higher amount. And we found that as we went out to a mixture of those companies, 100 of them, and by the way, this is crazy, you'll only ever get a few offers back, no matter how many places you go. That's just how they say it rolls. So we got a few offers back, and we had an offer from Jabra. We had an offer from a few others, and then Logitech as well. And one of the reasons we chose Logitech was because of the CEO, Bracken Darrell. He is a legend, like just such a solid guy. He's great vision, and knows what he wants to do for his family of companies. And he's a winner. Like, those guys just win, and they do such a good job. And I wanted Jaybird to be in the hands of a winning team, and that was really important. That soul, that spirit, that movement that we worked so hard to curate, that culture, that it would be sustained. And so Logitech was cool that they kept the culture going. It's still based here in Utah. That to be honest, they've struggled. They didn't really understand what we were about. And they really did struggle. And they actually took a back step in market share and growth and profitability in a massive way. I would have loved to have offered them help, but they were actually more interested in just running it their own way. And that's what you find in corporate America, is you have operators rather than innovators. And you're going to have some struggles in that kind of transition. And because of that, there was an earnout piece to the sale. And by the way, during the process, we were so close to really having some massive cash financial issues. We had the IRS chasing us for some tax that I didn't realize that we had missed paying, and we had too much inventory because we over forecasted for our headphone sales, and we didn't have enough cash flow. So we were constantly like working on ways every day to kind of generate some cash while we're trying to sell the business. Crazy, man, crazy. But, something that I've learned is that almost every business out there, unless it's like a big matured business that's corporate America kind of stuff, almost every business out there is just trying to keep things going. Whether it's because they're a small business and cash is tight, or whether they're a high growth business like ours, you're constantly feeding cash back in to feed the beast that's growing, and the accounts receivable is growing, the inventory is growing, the payroll is growing, the R&D is growing. And somehow all of your cash has to pay for all that all the time. So, there was an earnout piece to the deal with Logitech. And because they struggled with sales after this, we grew every single year for 10 years. We were profitable every single year for 10 years. And then it switched on a dime when they started running it. And so we actually missed out on a massive chunk of that 95 million, which is unfortunate. So that's a lesson learned. Be careful with the earnout.
You exit the company, you get bought. Then what? Because I see you now, and we were talking, and I see what you're doing, and in the work that you're doing, and I just like, my head goes, why? But I know why, but I really want to share with my audience why. Like, what are you up to now? Like, can you just do you have to work ever again if you didn't want to?
No, of course, no. So my understanding of the world that we're in today is that there's a massive shift. We're moving into very different times. You know, we were taken off the gold standard back in 40, 50 years ago. So this monetary system that we have is all fiat, which means there's no value to it. It's just confidence in paper. Eventually, with all this debt, all this printing, there's going to be some troubles. We don't know when it's going to be. So my interest is to get into things of intrinsic worth, of tangible value. So I've got a farm and I love it. It's, I own the real estate. I've got equipment that can create food. We've got tree orchards, fruit orchards. We've got vegetables. We've got cattle. It's awesome. It's completely self-sufficient. We've got solar power. We've got water running through the place. And it's very empowering to be in that kind of position where, you don't care about cars and things like that, but what you do have is true wealth, which is not tied to any bank account anywhere. It's amazing. It's so powerful. But as I was doing that, I was thinking to myself, how can I actually serve and how can I give back? And I have a really great passion for trading. And I've been trading since 2006, back before I even started Jaybird. Jaybird was the side idea. And I was actually going to be a full-time stock and options trader. And I really had a great passion for studying charts and seeing the pictures in the story in the candlesticks. And when I finished Jaybird, here's this Bitcoin thing. What is Bitcoin? That's crazy. Like, I don't even understand it. And so it took me a little while to understand it. And then I realized that this thing, all it is just a currency, just like the Australian dollar versus the US dollar has a value that fluctuates. Bitcoin is just that. It's just a currency that fluctuates against the US dollar or any other currency. And it is very volatile. And when you have a system or a method of trading that is very accurate and very predictable at picking where it bottoms and picking where it tops and the switch points, it's amazing. Like, it's going to multiply money. Actually, since 2014, this method that I've developed multiplies money double twice every 6 months. Since 2014, it's done that. So if you take $5,000 and multiply that every 6 months, then it's going to become about $1 million within 4 years. And that's the track record. I don't know what we'll be doing in the future as far as performance, but that's what the track record is. And it's really remarkable. It's 12 trades a year. It's so easy. So I decided to make an app called Unlisted Project. And it's only, I'll probably only have a few thousand people on that. But I want to be able to share with at least a few thousand households the ability to get financially free, especially with what's coming on the horizon. So that really gets me excited.
I mean, you just shared that like so nonchalantly, and I don't take you as a smoke blower, right? So I don't believe that you're blowing smoke up my ass when you share with me what you just did. And it's not like, I think about the old school, like the snake salesman or the people that would travel with the carts and be like, step right up. I'm going to show you how to spend 30 minutes 12 times a year to make millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
Bitcoin, that whole cryptocurrency fascinates me. And I remember I was actually volunteering at a conference in Austin when it was booming. And it was like, oh my God. So everyone at this conference was like on their phones and they were making trades and no one really knew what they were doing. And so everyone like went into Bitcoin, and at the wave of it, like Bitcoin only hit so high. So they were all buying Bitcoin, but my mind went, well, what's this Litecoin? Anyways, I bought some shares of Litecoin I didn't know enough or didn't want to put the time in enough to truly understand the market. And so I sold, and I happened to sell right when it was at its peak. So I think I had invested $500, right? And I should have went. Even my wife was like, well, if you know what you're doing, then do it. I was like, well, just do 500. If I'd have done 50, it'd have been game over, right? I put 500 in, I took 2,900 out. And it was 2 weeks. But the problem was I became so obsessed, Judd, that I was like, oh my God, what's it doing? What's it doing? What's it doing? Should I pull out? Should I pull out? So yeah, I put 500 in, took 29 out. I still regret that. I mean, there was a piece in me that was like, get the approval for the max trades. And I was going to put it all, put it up, but I felt like it was a roulette wheel. I didn't know enough about it. I didn't have enough of an understanding. So when I shared that with you, you've developed an app, are there processes of you teaching individuals and educating them on this whole currency so that they can build the confidence to really, really put 50,000 down instead of 500? I still am. So can you hear my resentment? Like I was like,
yeah, for sure. That's exactly what we've done is part of the ground up design was, see, I don't want to make the wealthy wealthier. I want to help the typical person who's struggling to find their purpose in life, who needs a bit of cash to chase their purpose and what they need to do. And, the typical person who's dealing with a mortgage, who's dealing with some debt, who's just, right now, in these times right now, they're difficult times. And you might be wondering, have I even got a job next year? I mean, what's the economy going to be doing then? Or maybe I've even lost a job now. I want to help people like that. I want to set people free. So that's what it's all about. I knew that most people have not taken enough interest in cryptocurrency to really understand it and be able to trade it well. Even those people who do take a lot of interest in it really struggle. So this method it's an app. It tells you when to buy or sell. There's 12 trades a year. It's super easy. Anyone can do it. And we have these videos, beautiful curated library of really concise, easy to understand, distills it down to the simple things. And you can follow the videos. But we also have really good chat support in the app. And we have a weekly call as well, where we just jump on the phone with everyone. We had one last night. And people can ask questions. We cover a couple of things and teach people a couple of things. But you don't really need to know a lot. You can be completely hands off if you wanted to. Like if you're running a business right now and you're completely absorbed, I know what that's like, then just wait for the signal and just make the trade, and we teach you how to do it.
I just got sold. Heart-Centered Hustlers audience, I will be downloading this app. Have you monetized this?
Yeah, so we charge $600 every 6 months. So actually, there's a code I can give you. It's mates rate, and that'll give you half price the first 6 months. And it's at unlisted.io. And we got a webinar there that we run every 15 minutes. It's a recorded webinar from a week or so ago. Got a few videos there on the website. Yeah, it's great.
This is so on time for the world right now, especially with what the world is experiencing and the predictions of what the world is going to experience. There are so many individuals. I just got goosebumps as I was thinking about my grandmother, who migrated from Germany over here. And one thing that she taught me very early on that I didn't adhere actually until I got into entrepreneurship was to always have a minimum of 6 months of all living expenses put away, because you never know what's going to happen. And I used to think, what do you mean what's going to happen? Why do you need 6 months? And I would do the math on that and I would be like, but you look at the time that we're in right now, and I wish a lot of people wish that they had made better decisions with their money. So I think that this is super, super on time. If you are interested in learning more about it, you go over to heartcenteredhustlers.com. We will have not only the link to the app in the show notes, we'll have the code that Judd just dropped. Judd, I would love to have you on Heart Centered Hustlers again, man. I'm thinking of all the intros that I'm going to make for you. You're just such a down to earth. There's so many different directions that you and I could have gone. We could have rabbit holed into all kinds of things.
So much. I have so many sticky notes on my screen cool things that we could talk about that we didn't even cover. So yeah, man, let's get together again.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about your manifestation practice or your visualization or none of it. This is a conversation that could not have ended if we didn't want it to, but very, very grateful that we had the connection made. I'm really looking forward to you. And I ask you this final question. What can myself and or the Heart Centered Hustlers community do to move your work further?
Wow. Thank you. That's cool. Well, I felt that Jaybird was a life calling for me to be able to transform that sacred moment of everyone's day and elevate that and make that really soulful and help people to connect with themselves. That was a really special thing. And the people we got to work with was really great. This one to me is even more important. As you said, especially given today's environment, people have a lot of question marks about what the future holds for them. And, when you want to be an entrepreneur, there's a lot of risk out there right now. So it's kind of like a risk off environment. Like I know someone that's like a trampoline place, where the kids can go jump in like millions of trampolines. They had to close down recently and their landlord, of course, didn't stop charging rent. So that's thousands of dollars every month. Somehow they had to come up with for several months. I don't know how they did it. They probably didn't. But this is a way for you to start chasing your dreams without that risk, because our average loss is 6%. Our average win is 56%. So you do the math, it's pretty good. So yeah, how can everyone help? Go check it out. Tell your friends. There might be other friends who could really use this in their life. And this is more importantly than me charging $100 a month. Like obviously I'm not going to make tons and tons of money out of that. This is truly designed to help people. And that's my life legacy, is to be able to look back and say, hey, I made all these friends, hundreds or thousands of friends, and we all were able to get financially free together. That's what we want to do.
Judd, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on and share with the Heart Centered Hustlers audience. I look forward to having you back on and continuing to watch and help you in any way that I can on your journey.
Thanks, Mark. It's been awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to the Purpose Chasers podcast. If today's episode hit home, don't just listen, engage. Follow me on Spotify, drop a review, and join the conversation over on YouTube at The Purpose Chasers or on Instagram at Organic Nerd Word. This is more than a podcast, it's a movement. And if you're here, you're already part of it. Remember, no amount of darkness can keep someone who's been called. So keep chasing, keep building, and keep standing in your purpose. I'm Mark Crandall, signing off until next time. Let's get it.